Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys for joining the stream. Let us know what stocks you're watching in the live chat. Thank you so much, Hunter, Flicks, Piper, Trevor, Sir, and Corbin. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. Let us know what stocks you're watching. We saw the SPY pull back a little bit overnight, Tom, and it looks like we have some, I want to say, a little bit of choppy movement this morning. We saw Amazon have an amazing earnings report, but they're starting to slowly come back now. And Tom, this setup looks almost exactly like Apple yesterday.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Apple did the same thing. Let's go check out what Apple did yesterday, and we can see how Apple really went up and then they fell, just like Amazon is right now. But at market open, Apple really fell off. So maybe watch out for Amazon to possibly have that same type of drop at open. And it looks like the two candles heading here into market open are very red and breaking below the low of today's pre-market. So it looks like we might do what Apple did and go ahead and fall back down, unfortunately. But man, these stocks keep reporting great earnings and they keep beating, but they just keep going down and down anyways.
For sure. So let's see. We have the market opened. We are currently down around 0.6%. So what are your thoughts, Tom? I know we were talking earlier, but are you thinking that we're going to see like a pullback overall, or like what are your thoughts on just the market in general?
Yeah, this is honestly a pretty crazy movement that we've seen on the SPY, and it kind of double topped up here around 420.72. And this might not be the longer term top, but we also came back below 418. We are kind of holding this lower support around 417 to 416.50 down here. I think we might hold this, but overall, it looks like the market might start to come down, and we're seeing stocks fall even on fantastic earnings. And that's what's really worrisome to me, is that we're seeing tons of these stocks do well, but they're still going down. Besides like UPS, just about everything else, even if it goes up, it's coming back anyways. So if we go look at the S&P futures as well, they are pulling back just like the SPY, of course. But this type of volatile movement where we saw this big V shape and then the double top up there, it just really worries me right there. And now we're at the lows, so we failed to break out right there. I'm kind of actually worried in the short term. I think we might start to go down here. We'll just have to see what happens. But if the S&P futures break 4170, or if we see SPY fall below 416.50, then I think we'll really be looking at it to the downside. But until that happens, I'm just neutral to slightly bullish on it.
Alrighty, so I'm just looking at a couple cash secured puts right now. I'm looking at Enphase especially. It actually is down today. I'm trying to get filled on some cash secured puts, but it looks like it's rocketing right back up at open. Yeah, so I'm looking at that. Also, Neo for some cash secured puts. So yeah, if you could, like, what stocks are you watching? Could you fill us in a little bit? Because I'm trying to get. Oh yeah, I'm trying to get filled on some Enphase puts.
Yeah, Neo's actually looking pretty good to the downside. We've been seeing it go down and down. They have earnings. They had earnings yesterday after close, and of course, just like Tesla. Well, let's see their earnings. Let's see. They had a negative 0.23 EPS actual. It doesn't even say the estimate on here for some reason, but I will say if it keeps falling below 37.33, definitely look at it to go down. But it has been going down so much on earnings, and these EV stocks are looking terrible. But Aldo says to check out some Twitter puts, so let's go check out Twitter today. Yeah, they even fell on earnings yesterday as well. And just like I said, we're seeing tons of stocks go down on earnings. Even when they have good earnings, it seems like they'll end up red, kind of like Apple almost did yesterday. They lost all those gains, but let's see. Twitter here, I think if Twitter falls below 55.66, it could be good for puts, but honestly, it fell so much on these earnings, I'm not sure that it's going to continue to the downside. We saw stuff like Netflix a couple weeks ago where they really fell to the downside on earnings, and then you can see here that the very next day they kind of recovered up and then were flat. Well, they've actually been flat for like 2 weeks since that drop. So maybe that's what'll happen here with Twitter, because that was also a pretty bad drop on Twitter, down around 12 to 13% right now. But here we go. It is starting to rocket back with a little green candle, so maybe it will start to recover up a little.
Awesome. So it looks like we have Apple bouncing. We have Neo trying to bounce. We have the SPY. Let's see what the SPY is doing. It's trying to bounce a little bit. We have Hunter saying, yeah, we have Hunter saying, bet you would like to use a walk limit on those Enphase short puts. And you're right on that one. So, so Charles Schwab, it's a broker, but they actually have some really cool features that Hunter was talking to me about earlier this week. And there's this thing called a walk limit order. Basically, it like cancels your order and then like resubmits your order like every couple seconds, and like it like increases your limit price by like 1 penny. So it's a really cool feature. And yes, Hunter, you're right. But then we have, let's see, good morning, Vicky. We have Aldo saying Twitter puts. Let's check it out, Tom. So yeah, it looks like it's bouncing pretty hard off that 56 support. It's already down around 13% today, which is actually like its worst day in actually like the past year. So actually, I'm thinking about selling some puts on this one too.
Yeah, for sure. It's a terrible day, and it is starting to go red right now. So it might be a good opportunity intraday if you wanted to. But it looks like that IV did get killed, over a 10% drop on earnings, which is a little unfortunate. But those puts definitely rose since the stock fell like 10 points.
For sure. So I'm just trying to see the movement. Yeah, I might sell some puts on them. Like maybe like a put that expires today. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that would be actually a pretty good way to go. Actually, they'd be pretty tough, I think, if Twitter kept going down. Honestly, I don't see it going back below the low of 55.66. But with these terrible earnings and this terrible movement, it could easily keep going down. But just given what we've seen, like with Netflix and some of these other ones, they kind of recover back up after these huge drops. I would kind of think that Twitter would hold its ground too.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at these 52 puts that expire today. It looks like they have a 92.5% chance of winning. So I'll have them on my radar right there. But let's see what's moving. I'm pulling up.
I'm looking at the heat map really quick once again.
Oh, I think that the delayed is or the
Oh,
data
it is delayed.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Oh wow, Tom, we have UPS actually pulling back. They actually had an amazing run this week. Looks like they're finally pulling back.
Yeah, wow, that's actually insane to see. They're coming down to around $200. They are along the 500 EMA and the 500 SMA on my 1 minute chart here. It looks like they might start to go green once again, but it's about time they started to pull back. You know, we go to the max daily chart, and all as UPS seems like it does is just gap up and then trade within a range and then just gap up again. And man, I know that the shippers have been doing good, but lately I think they've just been a little overextended. I'm looking at UPS possibly to the downside. I know you were talking about some call credit spreads on them, and honestly, that would be a great trade as well.
For sure. So I just gotta do this. Sorry, I'm putting some things in my notes for Twitter. All right, so let's see what else is moving. Let us know what stocks you're watching. We have Spacely saying NAKD, NAKD, NAKD. So Tom, what's going on with this one?
Yeah, let's go check it out. Oh, not SPY, NAKD. There we go. Wow, yeah, the daily's not looking good. I remember we looked at this one a few days ago. It looks like it double topped up here around 78 cents. I don't know what to think of it right now. Let's go look at the 1 minute. Yeah, it's kind of looks like it came down. Now it's trying to pop back up. But overall, I'd say I'm neutral on it today. It had a great pre-market move on it. But other than that, I mean, it just looks like it kind of tanked back off and almost double topped up there in pre-market. So I would be a little careful with this one.
Sounds good. Let's see. With the next comments, we have Corbin saying, I am holding my Qualcomm yet. I am out of day trade, so no scalping for me today. I am just watching and learning today. Sometimes that's the way to go. You know, you don't have to trade every day. Sometimes those days where you just sit back and watch, sometimes those are the days you learn the most. Then we have Justin. Good morning, Justin. We have Click saying, good live. I have 400 shares of NIO. Selling covered calls is good now, question mark. What strike and time you choose? So let's take a look. What is your cost basis? So if you wouldn't mind sharing, what is your cost basis? What is your average price for the shares? That could definitely help out with this covered call scenario. So I'll just wait for you to reply to that. But in general, I like to sell like covered calls, like maybe like with 2 to 3 weeks worth of time, depending on the play. It all depends on your risk tolerance. If you like the stock for the long term, generally you want to give the options a little bit of wiggle room, you can say. Like you normally don't want to sell like an option that expires in like a couple days if you're selling covered calls and you really want to hold the stock for the long term. So normally, a couple weeks out would be ideal, but I'll wait for your average. And then we have Vicky saying, where do you guys pull up the heat map from? So Tom, I'll let you cover this one.
Yeah, I actually just pull it up from finviz.com. I really like them. I think that Thinkorswim might have one too somewhere on their platform, but other than that, I just like to use Finviz's. I know that MarketWatch and a few others have them as well, but Finviz is pretty nice, but unfortunately almost all of them are delayed data, so like we're seeing right now, it's not even showing anything yet.
Yeah, so it'll show it in like what, like 15 to 20 minutes after open. So,
Yeah.
Vicky, actually, if you are using Thinkorswim, there's actually a heat map on Thinkorswim. Tom, oh yeah, so yeah, there's a heat map under the Market Watch tab, and then there's like a Visualize tab. So feel free to use that, and that is real-time data. And then we have AJ asking about LMT. So Tom, I know you're a fan of this stock. It looks like it is up a little bit today. Looks like they have resistance right around like 382. So I think it looks pretty decent as long as it could break that resistance. It actually has a really strong support right around 370.
Yeah, I really love this stock. The 370 support's pretty defined as well. Like you said, I love that. It also was right along that 1000 SMA as it was hitting 370, and then it crossed back above the 100. So overall, the technicals on it are looking great as well as the hitting off the support. And let's go look at the daily chart. The daily's looking pretty good as well. You can see how much they pulled back off the 1000 and off that support down there around 340 and 320 at the low. And it just looks like that they might start to pull back up. Sometimes whenever they run, you can see how many green days they had in a row before, and now they're really starting to pop back up again. Maybe I would say they could maybe test like 385 today. I don't think that they're going to go up too much more than they are right now, but it looks like they are starting to get some momentum behind them, and they are starting to rise. But I do know that Lockheed Martin's hard to play with calls and puts as well, because it's just not very there's just not very much volume on the options chain.
Sounds good. And then we have Matthew saying KIRK. I saw it breaking out last night and was up in pre-market. So it looks like it's down around almost 5% today. So what do you think?
Yeah, this one's pretty unfortunate. It's right on that 1000 SMA as well. Almost like a perfect bounce there off of that as it fell down. I don't know what to think. If it can keep going down below that, then maybe some puts would be good. But let's go check out the daily. And yeah, it was really running yesterday and just unfortunately came back. And, it really started to break out. And I think a lot of people probably thought it was going to keep going up like it has in the past whenever it finally broke its high. But man, it looks like it just got totally rejected there. And now it's coming back. Personally, I'm not going to look at anything. I'm not going to be too bullish on it till it breaks that high again, just because you can see how many times in the past along this area it's like came right back down, and we're like right there once again.
Alrighty, and then we have Matt saying, I held that Pins hybrid from yesterday and got destroyed. Looks like Pins is selling off. What's the next support? Does the Pins put still have potential for profit? So let's take a look. Pins is falling right now. It's down around 3% today. And the puts are at like 183. You can say the ask is at 192. So it does have potential, but it's just gonna be it's tough to say. You know what I mean? So one word of like advice is to always have stop losses in place. One thing you never want to do is just hold and hope, because it's just not a good scenario. But looking at Pins, the options are up a lot today. I mean, those options are up 70% today. It has a pretty strong support right at 66. After 66, it has another support at $65.60. And then below that, it has another support right at 65. So it definitely does have potential. Right now, it's definitely moving in your favor. So I can see it falling. What about you?
Yeah, it's looking really nice actually off the technicals. Yesterday, whenever the bot called it out, it was trading really well below the 100 SMA here. It even bounced right there and then had a lot of red candles to the downside there. But unfortunately, it did go back above and everything. But this morning, it did hit that and then fall back down again as well. Yesterday, intraday, it also bounced a few times off of like the 66.80 level. And today, right at open, it also tanked right below that. So honestly, it's looking pretty decent. Yesterday, you can see how much it came down. It just kind of had a little bit of a pullback. Hopefully now it can keep going down for you. But just keep in mind, it's probably going to have to move quite a bit here. Let's see. But yeah, really, I think I like those levels Mike said, like 65, 60 is going to be a pretty good one in the short term. And then obviously 66, which it's at right now.
Yep, for sure. And then back to Click's question about selling covered calls with NIO. So his average is at 41. So I'm not sure how long you're looking to hold this stock for. Like if this is just like a short-term trade, then you can sell covered calls at like 41 or 42. But if it's a long-term trade, what I would do is let me just pull up the chain real quick just so I could get an idea. Give me 1 second. I just want to see what some of the pricing looks like. Like you can go out to I mean, the pricing's not bad. You can go out to like the May 21st expiration. You can sell a 45 strike call, and that has an 83% chance of winning, and you can get $75 per call you sell. So I think that's actually some pretty nice premiums, even though IV is relatively low. And then on top of that, if it does go up to 45, you'd also make you'd keep the $75 per contract that you sold the calls for, but then also you would make that capital gain. So you would buy at 41 and then sell at 45. So that's an extra 400 right there. I would probably sell, like, if you have 400 shares, I'd probably sell at least one of the 45 strike calls for May 21st, and you can always like roll it. If the stock really pops or anything like that happens. But I think that's a pretty good win-win scenario.
Yeah, that really is actually. It's actually pretty tempting to not do that actually.
Yeah, I mean the premiums are pretty good. The stock's only at like $39 right now, and to go out 3 weeks to go all the way up to 45, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Yep. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the earnings, but like we all know, these EV stocks are going to do great in the longer run.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they just reported today, so yeah, May 21st won't be too big of a deal with that. But then we have Matthew asking about Mara, so let's take a look at this one. They're actually popping up today, up around 6%. Looks like it's doing pretty well. I haven't even checked Bitcoin this morning, but Mara is soaring past that resistance at 36 right now. After 36, it has a pretty strong resistance right around 38, and it looks like Bitcoin's doing really well.
Yeah, Bitcoin futures are pumping this morning, up above $55,000, which is great to see. Yesterday was looking terrible out of Bitcoin and Mara in after hours, but great moves today. This is very nice to see. A good recovery here out of Bitcoin, I think.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then we have Sean saying, I'm in on Ford calls. Chip shortage isn't going to last forever, and Biden might throw money at them. So how's Ford doing? They're up around 2% today. Let me pull up their daily chart. Yeah, it looks like they fell a lot yesterday on earnings, but it's not even bad for a cash secured put, or they actually are getting pretty close to testing support right around $11.
Yeah, for sure. That drop yesterday was getting really close to 11, and they also hit the 100 SMA on the daily. It's hard to say with Ford right now because of how much that they have went up this year, but I do love them for the longer term. Them and GM, I think, are going to do pretty well, but I'm not sure that like Biden's going to throw any money at Ford or anything. We'll have to see what happens with that or what comes out, but Ford looks like it's starting to try to recover back up. Looks like there's like another intraday resistance here around $11.50, which it hit off of yesterday, and if we can break that, it might be due for a pretty good run up today, maybe.
Alrighty, and then we have Oliver saying CHPT is pumping. Let's take a look at it. It's up around 2.5% on the day. Looks like it's coming pretty close to your moving averages, Tom. It looks like they do have a resistance right around 25.50. It actually is a pretty strong resistance. It bounced off of that like 3 or 4 times in the past 5 days. So watch out for that resistance, but it definitely is. I know it has a pretty high short float, like 75 or 76%. So if this thing continues to run up, the run up will be exponential because shorts will eventually have to cover their shares. So definitely be on the lookout for this one. Tom, do you have any like resistance levels or anything?
Yeah, I really like the one that you said right there around the $28. That's very, very defined. I think that if we could break that, it would be amazing. Intraday today, I would say if we could go above 26, then we might be able to run back up maybe to like 27.50 or 28 and retest that. But overall, it looks like it has a lot of momentum. I really love that high short float around 75% or 76%. I think that's great. It does look like it has a lot of momentum today. So if it breaks the high of today, let's see, right around 25.65, which it just did, it looks like it would be pretty good for some quick calls, but keep in mind, you'd have to get in and out pretty quickly on this. I would not overhold it. You can see how volatile it is and how much it falls. But if you do like it, I'd actually recommend picking up shares, given that on the daily chart, we're actually very, very low considering that what the highs look like. And with the options, if it goes down, it's all about timing. And obviously it could be good for some quick in and out day trades. But as far as like holding calls or anything like that, unless they're like leaps, then I wouldn't do it.
Alrighty, and let's see. With the next question, we have Power saying, I bought the eBay 45 strike calls for January 20th of 2023 for a swing trade. eBay pulled back yesterday. So yes, it definitely did pull back on earnings. Looking at eBay, it's actually not horrible. They're actually right at support at $56. It's not a bad trade. I was actually looking at some cash secured puts on these ones. I know I'm always saying cash secured puts, but looking at some of these premiums, they're pretty good, and I think I like the trade. I was actually looking at something similar to pick up shares at a low price, so I like the trade. I'm not sure like what your stop loss is or your profit level, but I like the trade overall.
Yeah, and I have a pretty good bottom trend line right here on eBay that I'm just going to go ahead and draw up really quick, but hopefully it can kind of hold this level on the way down, or else it looks like it might start to really fall off.
Sounds good. And then we have Piper saying thoughts on SKLZ. So I know ARK was buying up this one a lot last week. I can definitely see them continuing up. I would see them at least like retesting maybe like 22 or 24 over the next couple months. One thing to really watch out for, though, is earnings. They have earnings very soon. I think is Monday, Tuesday. It is on May 4th after market open. So just be careful for that, Piper. Overall, I like the setup. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like it as well. I think that ARK buying in is going to be one of the big deals here that's going to really help it over the next few months. But like you said, with earnings, anything can happen. It's a pretty volatile stock. Over the past few weeks, it moved from around $13 all the way up to 21, which is actually a pretty good jump here. So just be a little careful. It is volatile, but overall, I think shares or cash secured puts are going to be the best way to go on this stock, especially since it went down over the past 4 days.
Tom, you guys got to check out GME. Look at it. It's starting to run up again, up around 4% today. Broke above 180. It's getting really close to that resistance at 185 and then 190. So watch out for GME. We are seeing a pretty big run up, so just be on the lookout. We all know, when this thing has some hype, it can really run up. So just saying, keep your eyes on it.
Yeah, it actually looks really good on the daily chart as well. I really like the way it's starting to look. It's holding this bottom trend line as well and just posting really nice green candles. And like you said, it really looks like it's going to run. Maybe, Fridays used to be a pretty big day for trading where a whole bunch of volatility came in, and maybe GME will kind of make this Friday a very interesting one for us.
We shall see. And then we have Aldo saying Riot and Mara pumping due to Bitcoin. Yes, they are. Let's check in on Riot and Mara again. Mara is up around 6%, and then we have Riot up around 4%. So they definitely are pumping. They look pretty good. Mara and Riot are both pretty strong runners, so definitely be on the lookout for those. They usually end up being some pretty good setups for day trades, and Bitcoin is pumping. It looks like they broke above, what is that, the 1,000 SMA, Tom?
Yeah, that's actually the red 1000 SMA, and you can see it actually hit that right around 55,000 or 56,500 the other day and then tanked. So it's a pretty good level.
All right, and then we have Kyle saying 5 stocks you would recommend for someone who is brand new to investing to hold for 6 months to a year or more. So I'm going to share some of the stocks that I really like. This doesn't mean that they're good or bad. They're just some of my favorites. The first one would definitely be DraftKings. I'm a huge fan of DraftKings. Enphase is pretty good at these levels too, which is ENPH. Palantir's not bad. PLTR. Zoom, I'm also a really big fan of Zoom, ZM. And then I would also say, if you want to just get some of the market with VOO, that's pretty much the same thing as SPY, or Redfin, RDFN. Those are my 5 to 6 favorite stocks right now. And, that doesn't mean they're right or wrong. They're just my favorite.
Yeah, and my personal favorites are ones like ARKX. I really like some of the charging stations ones like CHPT and BLNK down there at Lowe's also. It's kind of a similar setup to Palantir on that front. Also, even stocks like NIO are pretty low if you like the EV stocks. Some of those are pretty good. And even, Tesla, I know a lot of people have been down on Tesla lately with it going down, but honestly, it keeps going lower and lower and just making great opportunities as it keeps going down.
Yeah, and then another thing too is Apple. They reported absolutely crazy earnings, and they've actually been falling over the past couple days. So even if you want to get just a little bit of Apple, they reported amazing earnings and they're falling. So definitely check it out. And one thing I would just I just want to put in there is everyone loves to hype up, for example, NIO when it goes from $50 all the way up to $65 in, 2 weeks? But not too many people like to talk about it when it's, just lingering right around $35 to $40 a share. So if you like the stock for the long term, now would be the time to start averaging in. Nobody can catch the bottom, not even Warren Buffett. So, for stocks you do like, no matter what stocks they are, it doesn't hurt to just buy a little bit over time to, just like average your share price, because nobody can catch the bottom. And then we have, let's see. We have Jerry saying was about to enjoy a nice, boring, full day of studying. Then the EV sector decides to go ballistic. Let's check it out. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these stocks were gapping down, and then they're just really popping it open. And I would say the biggest one is NIO. This one was down a lot. I was kind of figuring I was going to sell some cash secured puts on this one, Tom. Like I was kind of expecting them to fall below maybe 37, 36, but nope, they're just under 40 now.
Yeah, that's an insane recovery back to the upside. I don't know what to think about these. Tesla finally fell below $700, and even that one looked like it was going to continue yesterday with NIO's bad earnings, but then it also popped back up. It's hard to say right now. I'm not sure that Tesla's going to come all the way up to 700. I don't really see that happening today, at least, but overall, they're hitting the 1,000 SMA right now, right around 680 to 681. Let's go check out NIO, though. Yeah, NIO actually just popped above, but it looks like they do have a pretty good intraday resistance here around $39.75 and then right around $40. So I think that to expect maybe some chop out of NIO over the next couple minutes, or maybe over the next couple hours, I should say.
All right, and then let's see. We have Sean saying, learning so much. So cool to get Tom's live analysis. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Well, thank you so much for that comment, Sean. Let us know what stocks you're watching, guys. We have Click saying NIO is going up. So, NIO, Tom, I know we were just talking about it, but they're definitely popping up. We have Vicky saying Tesla and ARK. So, let's take a look at Tesla. They are getting pretty close to resistance, right around 685. I'm not sure if you see that level or not, Tom. I have resistance right at 685, and then after that, 690, and then, of course, 700.
Yeah, 685 actually looks pretty good on the intraday, so really watch out for that one. Looks like they are starting to go red right now off that 1,000 SMA, but they might always break that. It looks like it's just a little bit of consolidation there. Sometimes it still breaks that to the upside. Really watch out for 685, though. I think that's my favorite level for today on Tesla. But I would say if it breaks above 685, just watch out, because it might go to 700. Who knows? This is pretty volatile. It is only up 0.4% on the day too, and sometimes Tesla runs 3 to 5%. So we might see some more movement today out of it.
All right, and then Tom, we actually have airlines popping up. Check out UAL. UAL is up around 2% today, and it's just starting to run up. UAL has resistance right around 55, so just be on the lookout for that level. I can definitely see it retesting that sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. That's a pretty defined level, and on the daily chart, I really like 55. It's a very good level, and it's right around there today. But I will say it looks like it's going to start trying to go back to the upside. Unfortunately, a lot of these good stocks that were kind of recovering, like the airlines and Boeing and stuff like that, they really started to tank off over the past month or 2 months. But it looks like they might start to recover back up now. You can see how steep the recovery has been since COVID happened. I mean, some of these airlines were at $20 a share, and now we hit highs right at 60. So once again, I talked about Ford having a 300% move, but these have also had a 300% move to the upside, which is honestly pretty good.
Indeed. All right. So then we have we also have to cover ARK. So let's take a look at this one. I actually haven't looked at some of their top holdings lately. I'm actually gonna pull that up in a minute, but ARK is, ARK's not really doing anything. I'm a fan of them. They have support right around 120. After 120, they have a little support right around 116, 115. Then after that, they have another support at 110. So here we go. We have the ARK holdings up right now. Obviously, Tesla is the heaviest weight, you can say, which is actually accounting for almost 10% of the ARK ETF. Then we have Teladoc and Roku. So yeah, these are all the ARK holdings. I just want to look through these real quick. Looks like Zoom's up there too, around 3.4%. What is DraftKings? I can't find them on there.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see if there we are. DraftKings is number 35 on the list. They have 0.96% weighted.
Gotcha. So around close to 1%, you can say. So Tesla and Teladoc definitely have the top of the list. I mean, in my opinion, it's
Didn't
good to.
Spotify just pop as well?
Let me see.
Or Shopify? Shopify.
Spotify's actually down. Shopify, yeah, Shopify is the one that popped.
Okay, yeah. I thought one of them gapped up the other day, but it lost all the gains anyway, so it
Yeah.
looks like it didn't even help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like to see Zoom up there. I think that Zoom has a lot of potential, and clearly, Kathy does too. Especially at these levels, I'm happy to see them buying into Zoom right now. I know that they were buying actually a lot of shares lately.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see how many shares they actually have of Zoom. 2.4 million just around. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. I really like their weighting here. This is actually a lot of very good stocks here. They even have some new ones up here like Unity Software, which is pretty good, and then Coinbase. So some of
Right.
those are pretty interesting as well. And then also 10x Genomics.
For sure. I'm just pulling up some of the data. Like, obviously, what Tesla does will have a huge impact on the price of ARK. But it looks like like, actually, since, what is this, February? Yeah, so since February, let's go February 1st, Zoom's weighting was about 1.3%. Right now, Zoom's weighting is almost, what, 2%, 3%? Yeah, oh, wow.
3.3%.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's it's pretty big. So it's good to see that they're definitely buying into that. And I was actually looking at just the combined holdings of Zoom on kathysark.com. So either way, looks pretty good. I'm happy that they're buying into it. Then we have Jerry saying CHPT. I know Jerry was messing around with CHPT yesterday. Now they're up around 3.5%, getting pretty close to that high a day. What do you think?
Yeah, still running up, getting very close. I would say today, if CHPT breaks above $26, I think that's going to be a very good move to the upside there. I'm actually going to put a pretty good alert right at 26.01. So I'm just going to create that really quick. But looking like pretty good movement out of CHPT. I know that Simp or Simp was making a whole bunch of money on that one the other day, trading some quick calls. And man, I hope it proves another good opportunity again today. I think that it really looks good. I mean, it's really running. If it breaks that high of day and breaks 26, I think it could really start to run, but I just don't know what to think. It's up quite a bit already. It'll be up around 2 points if it hits 26. So it's just hard to say, but sometimes whenever these stocks, especially stocks with super high short floats, start to go up, we know what really happens when that happens.
Yep, for sure. So Simp is Jerry. So yeah, I mean
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
yeah, he's changing the names on us from YouTube to Discord, but he's been killing it lately. So hopefully CHPT continues up. It has a lot of potential, but the biggest thing, especially with this one, is that short squeeze. You know, like this thing, it may never short squeeze, but if it does run up, it does have that potential there. And short squeezes have been like amazing setups over the past, I would say over the past year, actually. 2021, it all started with GME and AMC. And after that, you know, especially Wall Street bets and just people in general realize that, you know, you got to target these high percent short float stocks because all it takes is, you know, a nice size run up. And then before you know it, you have like sometimes billions of dollars worth of shares being bought back, which just, you know, makes the run up exponential. So either way, it's definitely on my radar, and I'm really glad Jerry pointed that out.
Yeah,
um,
for sure. And even on the daily chart, it's bouncing like on some SMAs also, which can be also a pretty good sign, even though it's obviously on supports and stuff, but that's just like a double indicator there.
yep, for sure. So I'm just trying to see what's moving. How's Coinbase doing? Because what was it, like 2 weeks ago now, where they DPO'd? How are they doing? They're sitting right around $300. They really haven't been doing anything. I know I sold a put at the 200 strike price and expires today. I sold this, what, like a week and a half ago or something. But yeah, it's not really doing anything. But ARK is buying it up. I like it for the long term. It's just I wasn't gonna buy in at what, $400 a share.
Yeah, Mike. Wow, all the way down there at 200. Wow. Could you
Yeah.
imagine if Coinbase really went down to 200? I mean, man, who was buying those from you? That's a pretty that's a pretty bad play there, I think.
Yeah, like I'm actually very curious. Like I literally sold a put option that expires like literally in like 5 trading days that was 30% out of the money. So I don't know who bought that, but there's actually a lot of volume across some of those contracts down there. Like even if you look at like here, I'm actually curious. So let me pull this up. So it looks like there's like around 400 people holding those contracts still. So I don't know. It's gamblers obviously, but so yeah, back to coin. I think it has potential for the long term, but I don't know. I'm just waiting for a lower price. I'm fine with missing it, but I would just rather wait until I get like a great price. And honestly, that would probably be around like maybe like 250 or so.
Yeah, for sure. And just keep in mind also that if Coinbase does well, more likely than not, Bitcoin and some of those cryptos are also doing well. And maybe those cryptos and Bitcoin will do a lot better than Coinbase would. So if you're really bullish on crypto and stuff, just investing straight into crypto might be more of the way to go rather than just grabbing Coinbase here.
All right, and then we have Jerry saying, "Do you think NIO has short squeeze potential?" Honestly, no. The short float is only like 7% right now, so like shorts may cover, but like it's not going to have like a huge impact. So NIO, I really don't see short squeeze potential right now. Maybe if we get like a higher short float, then there's definitely potential, but as of right now, I don't.
Yeah, for sure. And Aldo just said that Tesla actually just popped up 685, which we were watching quite a bit. And yes, it did. It popped up, hit around 686, almost hit 687, and then started to come back down now. So looks like if you would have got some quick calls, it would have worked out for you. But right now it's very volatile. Looks like it's still going to keep going up though. It's just having some volatile candles here. We'll have to see what goes on, but it did finally break out and then start to just pull back right around those resistances there.
Sounds good. So, guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. Right now, we have the market not really, I don't want to say not doing anything, but it's coming back up a little bit. Overall, the SPY is still down around 0.5% on the day. We have a really strong support at 417 for the SPY. So, really watch that level. We have a pretty tough resistance also around 419, and we're kind of in the middle of that range right now. We're pretty close to 418. So, the SPY is just kind of just going back and forth, back and forth. No defined movement yet today. We are seeing some upwards momentum out of the airline sector, out of Mara and Riot. So I guess you could say like kind of like the Bitcoin part of the market. We have UPS pulling back down around 2% today, which is interesting to see. I'm just trying to pull up some other notable movers
I wonder
right
how
now.
Home Depot looks. A lot of people were looking at puts on Home Depot, and wow, yeah, that one's actually pulling back today as well. Kind of like that other stock you just mentioned, but it seems like we just see some of these stocks that just run up and up and up every single day, and now it's just they're getting to the point where it looks like they just have to come down. And we look at Home Depot, and I think a lot of people thought it was going to fall yesterday, but we posted a huge green candle. So it's just very, very strange right now with some of these stocks. It's hard to bet against them because of how much they go up, but the put potential just is so good that it's hard to stay away.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it is hard to bet against them. Like, Home Depot, like, honestly, I've been watching this thing for probably the past month now, and I'm just going to stay neutral on it. I don't even want to mess around with it because every time, like, you think it's breaking support, it just bounces right back up. And that 320 support has been, like, really strong. So maybe if it, like, really broke 320, maybe I'd give it another shot. But honestly, I think I'm just going to stay away from it.
Yeah, for sure. There's probably a lot better opportunities out there with stocks that are obviously falling a little bit more. And, I'm not trying to say NIO is going to keep going down or anything, but lately some of these stocks like NIO have just posed some great opportunities to the downside.
Indeed. And, when these stocks fall, if you like them for the long term, just buy them up, buy a little bit and hold. That's probably one of the easiest ways to invest. You know what I mean? Just buy the shares and hold. Especially if you like it for the long term, it should, most of the time it's going to end up in your favor. Then we have LC saying, SPY calls for May 21st, $20. CCIV calls January 23, 20. So, 420 calls on the SPY. All right, cool. So, we're looking at the SPY, 420 calls for May 21st. Tom, what do you think? I know that we were talking a little bit this morning, like before we even went live, and I don't know, you think that we're getting pretty close to the top on the SPY? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, personally, I do. I mean, we're seeing a lot of negative movement coming out of these earnings. Sometimes, whenever we see these big double tops with also like a huge drop like this on the SPY, a big V shape with this double top formation up here, sometimes this proves to be like a pretty good point, because you can tell obviously there was a ton of resistance right there, ton of selling pressure. It happened twice also, and it also recovered right back up. And it's just one of those situations where we're getting so high. All these catalysts happen, like we just had Biden speak, Powell speak, and it really sent, it initially sent the market up, but we can see the market really tanked off at open the next day, which was a pretty bad sign in my opinion. And then also we're seeing it go down today. If we fail, to come back up to 420, I think we might be seeing the top here on the market, especially if we don't come back up over the next few days. I think if we start to fall down towards like 415 or 412, unfortunately, we might start to veer away from the top. And if we go to like the S&P 500 futures / ES, I mean, you can see how overextended the S&P 500 is. If we look at the pre-COVID high, we were right around $3,400. Now we're all the way up to $4,200, just shattering expectations. And it's almost up so much that like it's almost like we're playing Home Depot though, like we were talking about earlier though too. Is that at the same time it keeps going up, so it's kind of hard to bet against it. But just given the movement I'm seeing in this big V-shaped formation, it shows that there's a lot of selling pressure up here around 420, and I just think that that's a very big deal on the SPY.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say it also shows a lot of buying pressure too. You know what I mean? Buying that dip right around 417. So, in my opinion, it's really tough to say. Always trust your own gut. But I would say whether you're bullish or bearish with SPY options, just be careful. They're not necessarily like crazy expensive right now. But the thing is, theta will definitely hurt that option. We can see the SPY is down around 0.5% today, and those calls are down around 15%. So just one thing I want to point out is maybe like turn the play into like a debit spread to help fight that time decay. It's just a suggestion. Always trust your own gut, but theta will definitely play a role, and it'll definitely hurt your profit. So I just wanted to point that out. He was also talking about CCIV calls for January 2023. I really like that setup. I think CCIV has a lot of potential, and their leaps are pretty cheap right now. Actually, like their leaps are really cheap right now. The stock hasn't been moving over the past month or two. IV is really close to all-time low, so I actually really like that setup.
Yeah, for sure. And to Kyle, who was asking earlier about some good stocks possibly for the long term, this is another EV stock that's actually at a great level. It's only like $1 away from the $20 support. No, actually around $2 away, but still very close to that $20 support. Has highs all the way at 64, and overall just looks like a pretty good setup for the longer term. And I would say this one to me looks a lot better than the SPY right now. If we look at the SPY, it's just so overextended. I don't. He was talking about SPY calls that expired in May, right?
Yep.
Okay, so those ones weren't leaps, so not too bad at least. But with CCIV, I think that the leaps are awesome right now, or just cash secure puts to grab shares. But either way, I think over the next few years, this one has a lot of growth potential to it.
Yep, I agree with you. And then so let's stay on CCIV for a minute. So their short float is actually at 22%. So it's not like crazy high, but it's definitely not too low either. There is a little bit of a potential for like a short squeeze. Obviously, it's not like a GME where it's over 100% or a charge point where it's at 75%, but it's a respectable short float sitting right around 22%. So that can also help and hurt this stock. It hurts it because there's actually a lot of selling pressure, but if it does break out, that breakout will be explosive because those shorts will have to cover, and it'll just make the stock price pop exponentially.
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually I looked up some CCIV news to see what's going on, and apparently there's like a law firm telling their investors to seek counsel before a deadline if they lost more than 100 grand on the drop to the downside. And that sounds like a pretty scary thing, but I don't think it's going to affect the stock too much. I was just looking up some of the recent news for it.
Gotcha. And then we have Jerry saying, "Gotta be the chip news. NIO and Tesla going crazy." So. Yeah, I mean, I could see it, NIO is actually down on the day. Now it's up 3.5%. So it's definitely a pretty crazy stock. I like it for the long term. And I think it shows a lot of strength how it bounced today. Like, I was getting really excited about some cash secured puts on this one this morning, and then it just completely reversed. Like it bounced off of that, was it like $37 support really, really well. So I really like it. Shows a lot of strength.
Yeah, it does. And also that chip news could be pretty good as well. You know, obviously all these modern cars, like these electric vehicles, they're almost ran solely off of chips and computers. There's not even really engines anymore in these. There's like little electric engines, but nothing like we're seeing with the modern or with the mechanical gasoline engine cars. And this is just really insane. I think that this chip shortage was really causing some problems for some of these, especially like NIO and Tesla. That might be the sole reason for those drops happening. And obviously, that's going to hurt their production and everything. It's going to make the cost go way up for them as well because they're going to have to spend a lot more during the time of that shortage. And but hopefully, as time goes on, they start to recover back up. It's looking good. Pretty good bounce today on NIO. I don't really see NIO breaking their like $35 low or their support down there. I think it might hold that. It's starting to look pretty good. It is down a lot from their highs as well. And with people like Kathy, obviously getting like Tesla and stuff like that, I think that that's really going to help some of these other stocks go up as well. And obviously, there's a lot of investors looking at these at the low prices, probably grabbing some shares. So we'll just have to see what happens. But over the next few months, I really like NIO, Tesla, and some of the other ones. I even like AMD with the chip shortage finally starting to come to an end.
All right, and then we have Matthew saying, guys, Mara is going nuts. I'm making bank on Mara. I've been buying since the bottom. So it's up around almost 11% today, Tom. It bounced. It just exploded this morning from like 35 all the way up to 38. It does have resistance right around 38, so just watch out for that. I mean, it's just a powerhouse. You know, we've seen this stock run so much in the past, and it's doing it again today. It's up around 11%, which is weird because this is only like in the 83rd percentile of like all of its best moves. So it just goes to show you that, it's up a lot today, but it has moved up a lot more in the past. So just watch out for it. I think it looks pretty good. Watch out for that resistance right around 38.
Yeah, and the better Bitcoin does, the better Mara is going to do. And right now, it looks like Bitcoin might be double topping intraday. So just watch out to see what happens. It's hitting right around 56,500. So just watch out. It looks like we might start to see a little bit of a pullback. And if we do, just expect Mara and Riot to maybe start coming back down. And I think we'll start to see some volatility out of these ones as well. It looks like the high on yesterday, or not yesterday, but a couple days ago on Mara was 38.40 in pre-market. And we are getting pretty close to that now.
All right, and then we have Trevor saying the delay on Neo's options chain is sus AF right now. So let's take a look. I wasn't even looking at the NIO chain too much. I was looking at some cash secured puts, but I really haven't even been looking at the chain. Yeah, interesting. It looks like it is moving a little slow. I honestly haven't even been paying attention to it, but looks like they're coming pretty close to that resistance right around $40. What do you think, Tom? Like, you think we moved too much today? You think we're gonna continue up? I know we're up around 3.5% already, but what are your thoughts for the rest of the day? Because the market's only been open for 45 minutes, and this stock has literally just gone straight up.
Yeah, I will say with NIO, I see a pretty good resistance coming in here around $40.50, maybe right around $40. We're getting close to that right now. Somewhere between there is a possible high of today for me on this. This is up quite a bit, but we have seen NIO go up a lot more in the past, especially off of good catalyst with like what we're seeing today. And hopefully it can keep going up, but I do see a pretty good resistance here at $40.50. Personally, I'm not going to play to the upside with all these resistances coming up. I would have rather have grabbed it sometime earlier on this morning, maybe around 39 or 39.50 at the highest. But right now, I don't think I'm going to buy it, just given what we're seeing with these resistances coming. Like I said, at $40.50. And if we go look at like Tesla, for example, I see that they also are getting close to some resistances. So just overall, the EV stocks look like they're starting to get to their resistance, but that doesn't mean that they might only fall for like the next hour or 30 minutes and just consolidate. And then later on today, they could easily keep rocketing back up. But I just think that we're going to start to see some chop or some volatility soon.
Interesting. So then we have Aldo saying, what platform is this? So we are on Thinkorswim. We're on Thinkorswim. I really like Thinkorswim. But honestly, Hunter is kind kind of tempting me a little bit to, maybe switch over to Schwab for like fills and stuff, because they have some really cool features with like the walk limit orders, and apparently they're a lot faster. So, right now we're on Thinkorswim, but we might switch over to Schwab for fills. We'll see what happens though. We have
My favorite one is personally TradeStation. I love TradeStation, and I started looking stuff up whenever Hunter was saying that, and TradeStation has some pretty good stuff as well. And I know that they have some like smart fill options and stuff like that. I don't think you can walk the limits like that, but I think that they just have some pretty smart fill options there where they automatically like smartly fill you at the best price rather than just fill you in the middle of the spread or something like that on a market order. It tries to automatically get you at the bottom.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I know that like Thinkorswim, sometimes their fills are a little bit rough, like, especially lately.
Yeah.
After they switched to that like free commission structure. So I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but their fills have been a little rough lately, which sucks. I've used TradeStation in the past for like some of the robots I've built, and I like them overall. But honestly, out of every single broker or platform I've used, I have to say Thinkorswim is my favorite for charting.
Yeah, me too. I think it has really good charts, and they're honestly just so simple, so easy to use that once you get used to them, all the other brokerages just seem like they're way overly complicated and stuff like that. And like, look, I could even bring up like 3 charts just instantly on my chart right now. And in a lot of other brokers, that's a lot more difficult. There's all these buttons here on the side as well. You can easily draw on them and make good moving averages. And I know, Mike, you code some indicators on here as well and scanners, and those are pretty easy to do on this platform as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, super easy. Like, yeah, it's definitely super, super easy compared to a lot of these other brokers. Overall, like, I love them for like charting. Like, the only main problem I have with them is their fills, and I feel like they've just gotten worse over like the past couple years. So, we'll see what happens. But then we have Piper saying Jerry equals simp, Piper equals rah rah. Well, that's good to know. And then we have, let's see, we have Matthew saying, what do you guys think about puts on the SPY for 417? So let's check it out. 417. Right now it's sitting right around 418. I'm not sure if you're asking about like puts if it breaks 417 or like the 417 strike puts. He said I could see this thing dropping back to 416. I can see it dropping too. So I'm not sure like what type of setup you're looking at, but Tom, what do you think? Because I know we were talking about this one a lot like before the stream.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it to the downside. That's just a personal opinion, though. Just what I'm seeing going down below supports and stuff like that. But if the thing is that it looks like the area that the SPY hit this morning around 417, 417.50, it's posed as a great support over the past few days. So don't be surprised. Like if you grab some puts and it bounces up off the support, don't be surprised. But just personally, what I'm seeing some downwards movement here. This was a pretty crazy thing here. It came down to 417, got bought all the way back up, and then got totally rejected again at the top. Now we're coming down. Personally, it just looks like one of those moves. Sometimes whenever we have a top or a bottom on a stock, like let's go to a max daily on the SPY. Like for example, down here all the way at the bottom at $220 on the COVID drop, this was a pretty crazy day on the SPY, and it had a lot of weird movement that day, to say the least. And we saw that yesterday have a lot of weird movement as well. It might not be the top, but I'm just saying it could be. And just be very wary if you're buying puts of these supports down here, because it could obviously pop back up and it could obviously really hurt the puts. So just be careful. Maybe a straddle's the way to go here if you can get it priced right. But personally, I would just make it break these levels, like maybe break 417 or 416.50 to the downside first before I grabbed them. But overall, to me, it just looks like it's going down. I know Mike is more neutral on it, and that's just how it is with trading. Sometimes people just have their own opinions, and obviously, that's just how it goes.
For sure, and always trust your own gut. You know what I mean? Always, always, always trust your own gut, no matter what. But just for clarification, he was looking for like a put if it breaks 417. So
Okay.
I like the setup overall. Always trust your own gut. Just be careful of that options pricing. Personally, I wouldn't do a straddle, but always trust your own gut, no matter what. We have Jerry saying over 500% on NIO. Jerry, what are you trading? Is this like a daily option or something? I mean, you're killing it. It's up around 4% today. I mean, this has to be like a daily option. Let me see. So yeah, let us know what you're trading. I'm trying to pull up some of these options right now. Like I'm going to the 39 strike call that expires today, and it looks like at open it was sitting right around like $20, and right now it's at 173. So maybe he did get like a daily call, but either way, that's awesome. I mean, awesome job right there. Great job, great job. And then we have, let's see, we have Vicky saying Cathie Wood from ARK has proved and backed up her deep understanding of Tesla. It has been their number one position for a few years. So yeah, I mean, she's definitely she bet big on Tesla, and it definitely paid off. And I'm sure Tesla will continue up over the next couple years. But I've been doing a couple like YouTube polls on the main channel, asking whether like Tesla is overvalued or undervalued, and we have some interesting results. It seems like half the people, or like a third of the people, think it's overvalued, and then like another third thinks it's undervalued, and then another third thinks it's fairly valued. So I don't know what to think. I like them for the long term, and I'm sure they will continue to innovate, and then I'm sure their stock price will continue to grow as well.
Yeah, and the main problem right now that I think Tesla is going to have is that they're opening all these factories up, like in China and Berlin and all these places, and obviously that costs a lot of money. And right now, I just feel like that they're in more of a spending stage than a profitability stage. And they're coming in now. These trucks are going to be starting to be made at the end of this year and maybe delivered early next year. And I think that might drive a lot of profits into Tesla around that time. But until then, I think that obviously they're spending a lot of money and they have a lot of stuff going on with expansion, even in Texas as well. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff going on for them that cost them money. And I think that in the shorter term, that might hurt them profitability wise, but in the longer run, it's going to be even better for them and more explosive once those factories really get going and they start really profiting from them, especially like whenever they start making these semi trucks and the pickup truck. There's a ton of pre-orders for this pickup truck, and the amount of money that they're expected to get from that is actually pretty staggering. So we're gonna have to see what goes on with that situation. But hopefully, at like the end of this year to the beginning of next year, they can start delivering those and really see some good profits.
All right, and then we have Alejandro saying, will Tesla keep going down, or will it go back up to 700? So that is the $1,000,000 question. It's 700 is a really strong level. I'm sure in the long term it will go back up to 700 and break above that. Today, it probably won't close above 700. If we are speaking mathematically, there is like a 25% chance of closing above 700. Yeah, like about a 25% chance of closing above 700. So it's possible. In the long term, I'm sure they will close above 700. For next week, let me check out the probabilities right now. Next week, there is a 84% chance that we touch 700. Wow, that was actually a lot higher than I was expecting.
Yeah, that is a pretty high expectation, and I don't know what to think. I guess it's because it came up to 690 today. Obviously, if you would have ran that earlier today and it was at 665, it probably would have came back a different number.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, but it looks like there is a pretty good run this morning. We are getting close to resistance here at around 692, which it hit off of a couple times the other day, but hopefully it can hit 700 today. I don't see it breaking this unless we see better news come out or something crazy. I mean, this move is already kind of crazy here, but it is only a 2% move for Tesla. And I know that in the past we've seen some bigger moves, but definitely watch out. I don't see it breaking above 700 today. And Mike said there's a 25% chance, and that just solidifies my position there.
All righty. And then we have Matthew saying DAX and Dow Jones. So let's take a look at DAX, Tom. How are we doing with this one? It looks like it's going up slowly but steadily. Over the past year, it's done very well. I'm just trying to pull up a max weekly chart on this ETF. It looks like we're getting pretty close to that high back in 2018, right around like $34. I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back just a little bit and then end up breaking that to the upside. I think it looks pretty good overall. And then if we take a look at DIA, they are just soaring. The Dow is just soaring. So I think it looks pretty good. But like Tom has been talking about, I really wouldn't be surprised if we do see a pullback. If you are holding shares, you can always like buy like puts for insurance. You could always like sell covered calls, so like kind of like hedge your bets a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good way to go is to maybe sell some covered calls if you have shares and you don't want to get rid of them. That is, obviously, if you have some stocks and they're like at all time highs, or for example, like if you're holding shares of UPS right now, which is awesome, you might want to look at taking profits up here because if we come back down to like 170 or 160, you can always buy back in. And I'm not saying to do that. Maybe you could just sell some covered calls, maybe like 205, maybe at 210 here and get some pretty good premiums. I know that they're down today, so it's going to hurt those a little bit, but overall, you should be able to get some decent premiums up here, maybe around 204, 205, and really make some good money on those calls. Or if it goes up, then you're just taking profits at a very high level. And honestly, with the market up as much as it is right now, if you have stocks like UPS or Home Depot or Caterpillar or something like that that's at all-time highs, honestly, I'd look at selling some covered calls to get some good premiums or just sell at the high. And it's going to be a win-win situation. If it goes back down, then you might be able to sell some puts and get some more shares or just pick up more shares straight up. But either way, I think that it would be smart to maybe lock in some profits now. It could always keep going up, but maybe sell half the position or something like that. I think it would be a pretty smart thing to maybe think about at the very minimum.
All right, then we have LC saying, just bought some CHPT calls for May. So it's a 26 strike price. And he said, thank you guys so much. You are awesome. Well, thank you so much for that awesome comment. We really appreciate it. We've only been streaming for like 2 weeks now, Tom, and we're learning as we go. So really, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We really appreciate it. Thanks for asking questions and supporting us. We really do appreciate it. Then we have Alex saying, why is FSLR down almost 9%? Let me check. Let me take a look. Yeah, so they are down around 9%. It looks like earnings. I haven't even been watching this stock for a while now. Let me see.
The earnings were pretty good, actually.
Yeah, so I don't know. I honestly haven't really looked into them too much. It looks like earnings right now, but we'll have to take a deep dive into their fundamentals. But yeah, so we don't really know too much about this one. But if you like it for the long term, take it as like a buying opportunity. If you see a lot of growth, take advantage of the stock while it's low and then just buy and hold shares if you like it for the long term. Then we have Slick saying, good morning, Mike and Tom. I'm a little late, but got out a SPY put this morning, 100% profit. There we go. So SPY was had quite the ride this morning. Up, down, up, down, up, down. So it's going kind of crazy. How's the SPY looking right now, Tom? It looks like we're still sitting right around that high of day, like right around 418.50. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks like it's almost double topping right there. Now coming back to the downside. I don't know what to really think about this one. Obviously, Tesla and NIO are going up pretty well. I would think that it might have went up more with Tesla going up. You can see it tried to, but then it just got rejected again. I would say if it breaks 418.55, then maybe look at it a little bit more to the upside. But until then, I'm just going to look at it, just be a little neutral on this because it is failing to break that as of now. Once it does break that, maybe I'll get some calls. But man, it is a very volatile day for the SPY overall. I cannot believe the drop that we saw back down last night. I mean, man, we recovered all the way back up. And I really thought that, it might hold that and then maybe break the high today again, but just got totally rejected overnight, which was really strange to see. I mean, the main catalysts were last night. So I don't know why it did that this morning, but overall, it's just a crazy moving stock. And I just really watch for it to break that high of day today. I think it'll be a pretty good day trade when it does do that. And it looks like it might do it over the next few minutes.
Very interesting. So I just saw a golden sweep come through with the SPY. So someone just traded the 450 strike calls that expire on December 31st. And this was like a $1.1 million trade that just came through. It's a very interesting setup. So it looks like they bought these calls a while ago and now they're closing out of them. So Tom, this might be a little bit of an indication that the SPY might fall. It looks like I didn't get a chance to fully analyze this play, but it looks like someone's selling out of a SPY call position that they bought back in like late February. So, just another thing to keep on your radar. We have Click saying NIO is unbelievable. Is it still running up? Let's check.
Yeah, let's go look at the intraday here at NIO. Man, yeah, it is still kind of running up. I'm breaking above $41 even very slightly. Wow, yeah. Still going to the upside. Very crazy moving today. Really watch out for maybe like 41.25, maybe 41.75, somewhere between there was the highs over the past few days. So really watch out for that. But man, the recovery here is insane. It's going to recover all of the losses it lost yesterday. So really, I mean, they had decent earnings. So hopefully they could go back up. And, we saw Tesla even have decent earnings, and then they ended up falling, which was, just a bad situation. But it looks like all these are starting to go back up now. And even though they fell on bad earnings, it looks like the good earnings are finally driving some buyers into the stocks. And it looks like they're finally getting back in, it looks like.
Yep. So, I mean, Tom, honestly, I'm a little tempted to get some like NIO puts for today. Like this would be a complete gamble. I really hate like doing these risky plays, but like I feel like this thing has literally just gone straight up for the past hour. Like I feel like it's got to pull back. I'm kind of tempted.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it started to pull back very soon. It is a big runner. It's also moved about the same amount over the 1,000 as it was below it today, which is usually a good sign that it's going to pull back soon. I really like it that it's getting close to some of these resistances here on the 1 minute chart. Like I said, around like 41.25. Somewhere around in that area is pretty decent. And I would not be surprised. This is almost straight up with very, very little pullbacks here. Maybe like 1 or 2 minute pullbacks. That's it. Nothing. It's almost as steep as the downwards movement was yesterday. And we can see then it finally started to pop back up. So I would not be surprised. And we're starting to see some consolidation right here, Mike. That would actually not be a bad play, I don't think.
Jerry thinks I'm crazy. I mean, he did just bank 500% on NIO calls, but I feel like it's just gone straight up. Like we have Trevor saying Neo is overextended AF. Like I feel like it's just way overextended. Neo puts would be a complete gamble, but I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I'm probably not going to do it, but I feel like it's just gone straight up, and I feel like it's a relatively low risk trade. Like if the options are priced right. Like some of these puts, like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It's a complete gamble, but we'll see what happens. Then we have Bennett saying, I got Twitter last year at $16 and they had bad earnings yesterday. Should I sell? So, well, one, you're doing an amazing job with Twitter if you bought at 16. Right now, even though it's down 12% today or 13% today, it's still at like 50, what is that, 57? So, if you like the stock for the long term, don't feel the need to sell. No one can like perfectly time the markets, but I'm not sure how many shares you are holding, but you could also do like covered calls. So for a simple answer, this is a simple answer to a complex question, but it really depends on your risk tolerance, but also your sentiment on this stock. If you feel that it is way overvalued, then it doesn't hurt to sell, or at least maybe sell half. So, but if you plan on holding this stock for the long term, then just hold it. You know what I mean? Just don't feel the need to like perfectly time this. But if you're just kind of in the middle, maybe sell a third of your position today, and then maybe a third of your position in a month, and then the other third in another month. You know what I mean? Like maybe average out. Either way, you have some great gains on it, so you're definitely in a great position.
Yeah, no matter what happens, personally, I don't see Twitter going back down to $16 unless we see a crash like the 2008 financial crisis or something. So keep in mind that Twitter, I think, will do pretty well. They did pretty good, even though COVID made them drop a little bit, which was pretty good. You can see how much they really recovered back above that level. Before COVID happened, they were around, let's just say, here's 2020. They were around $40 a share. They fell all the way down to 20. Then they came back up to 80. So there's definitely been a lot of movement. I'm not surprised to see them pulling back like this. And I still think that they're great for the longer term. I mean, if we go look at stuff like Facebook and Snapchat and some of that stuff, they've been doing pretty well also. And Facebook specifically for the longer run has just grown and grown and grown. And I don't see Twitter going anywhere. And honestly, as more people make more accounts and stuff, they'll just make more ad revenue. And obviously, the more they grow, the more ad revenue comes in. So hopefully Twitter can keep going up over the next few years. And if I had him at 16, personally, I would not be selling the position. I would be holding it because I think that I'd never see them hitting $16 ever again, I don't think.
All right, and then let's see. We have Alejandro saying, any specific recommendations for today? Enjoying the stream. Well, thanks for that. Let's see what's moving for today. So we have Tesla obviously moving up. We have CVX falling down. I don't know. I'm looking right now. I'm doing a quick scan. Honestly, Jerry's probably gonna go crazy when I say this, but like if anything, I'm kind of thinking about like NIO puts. Like I feel like it's relatively low risk as long as you have a stop in place, and I feel like there's a good chance we'll see a pullback. Looks like we're already pulling back a little bit right now. That play is extremely risky, but it's just an idea. Besides that, I don't see any like amazing setups right now. The market has only been open for an hour, so I'm sure we will see a lot more better setups throughout the day. But the only thing like I kind of like right now is NIO puts.
Yeah, it's looking really good actually. And if you would have entered that the second you set it on some of those daily puts, kind of like what Jerry was trading with the calls, I'm sure that you'd be up like maybe 10 to 15% right now. That's actually a pretty good pullback here for a quick scalp. But one of the stocks I'm watching is EDR, and this is Endeavor Group. They actually IPO'd yesterday, and this is the Endeavor Group owns the UFC, which is obviously Dana White is the CEO of the UFC, and the UFC is very popular. People love the UFC, and I think that this IPO really went under the radar. I actually grabbed some shares at $24 on this drop yesterday. I really like this stock for the longer term, given that they're the UFC. I really think that there's growth potential here. They have some good fighters coming up, like Usman and Ngannou and stuff like that. And it was a pretty good fight over the past weekend. I thought it was a crazy thing. One of the guys like snapped his leg. It was kind of gross. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did you see that, Mike?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he snapped it. It was bad. You got to look it up later, but did definitely not a good thing. But EDR is the owner of the UFC, so be careful. They IPO'd at 28. They fell down to 23.25. I picked them up at 24, and it looks like intraday today they're kind of double topping here around 26.25. Looks like they're trying to run. So if they can break this and start to run back up, maybe they can hit highs maybe at like 27.50 or 28 again. But overall, for the longer run, I think this is a very interesting IPO, and I think it really went under the radar.
Yeah, I agree with you how it went under the radar. Like everyone knew about the Coinbase IPO. A lot of people were talking about like even the Airbnb IPO, but I haven't heard like literally anyone talking about this UFC listing or the IPO, you can say. So I definitely have my eyes on it too. And I think this past event, wasn't it like all like in person, like fully filled arena, like all that stuff in Florida?
Yeah, I think they actually finally started doing that again, and that's a very good sign. And eventually, they're going to be back in Vegas with fully packed crowds and stuff like that. And it's very good to see for the sport overall and for the growth. And I think that over the next few, I'd say like 3 to 5 years, especially with sports betting blowing up the way it is too. Obviously, I think UFC is going to start to blow up a little bit more also. And there's a lot of these good fighters, and it's just posing for a lot of good fights to watch. And really, it's just the sport, I think, is getting a lot bigger, especially with COVID. A lot of people were like watching it at home and stuff. So it just seems like a lot of interesting growth here out of this. Not out of the stock, I should say, out of the UFC. But one thing I do wish is that, they IPO'd as the Endeavor Group. Obviously, I wish the ticker could somehow be UFC, but that's just a personal, I'm just a little sad about that one.
All right. Well, Tom, what are you watching for the rest of the day? Any top stocks? Today's the last day of the trading week. We really had a crazy week with all of these earnings releases, with Powell, with, Biden's address in the middle of the week. So what are you watching?
Yeah, very crazy week. Really, just watching NIO, like you said. I mean, maybe for some puts, it did start to come back up here. It's definitely going to be an interesting day for all the EV stocks like NIO and Tesla. They're definitely moving very interestingly, to say the least. If I go look at SPY, I think this is going to be the main thing I'm watching today. Looks like it double topped up here around 418.50, starting to come to the downside, getting close to that 17 support, maybe 416.50. So if I do see this start to go down, I might like grab some SPY puts or something like that very quickly for a day trade. But really, I'm going to be watching the SPY. I hope that next week it can kind of come back up to 420, maybe break above that. But honestly, the movement's not looking too good today. So we'll just have to see what goes on. But if it does go down and break these supports around 416.50, I'll definitely get some like puts maybe a month or two out. But as of right now today, if it breaks the low of day at 417.40, I'll just grab some quick puts and maybe do a quick scalp day trade down to like 417 or 416.50.
All righty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We really hope you enjoyed it. We had a great time. So thank you guys so much for joining. Have an amazing weekend and have a great end to the trading week. We will see you guys